In a world where game publishers strive to push the boundaries of realism, showcasing hyper-detailed 3D environments, beautiful immersive open worlds, and lifelike character models, an unlikely contender is quietly making a powerful resurgence: pixel graphics. But why, in this age of cutting-edge hardware and ultra-realism, are gamers turning back to these humble, blocky visuals? Visuals that are mere remnants of gaming's early days. Today, we'll explore the rich history of pixel graphics and discover why this seemingly simple graphical style has not only stood the test of time, but why it is now seeing a vibrant resurgence, captivating both old gamers and new gamers alike. Pixel graphics, which are often referred to as pixel art, are the oldest form of video game graphics, and modern gamers either love their nostalgic charm or dismiss them as outdated. However, pixel art didn't start as a stylistic choice. It was born out of necessity, a direct result of the technological limitations of the past. In the 1970s, 1980s, and even into the 1990s, the hardware of early gaming PCs and home consoles simply couldn't handle the high-resolution, detailed graphics that we see in modern gaming. Developers were constrained to using small grids of pixels to represent characters, objects, and environments. Despite these limitations, they crafted unforgettable heroes and worlds that continue to resonate with players all around the world to this day. But the roots of pixel art stretch back even further. The term pixel itself is short for picture element, a term that was coined in the 1960s to describe the tiny dots of light used to compose digital images. These early images, formed by those individual points of light, laid the groundwork for pixel art. As technology progressed, so did the desire to create interactive digital experiences. In 1962, a group of MIT students developed Spacewar, one of the earliest video games for the PDP-1 computer. The game's graphics were minimalistic, a few pixels representing spaceships drifting in a sea of darkness. While simple, these visuals were enough to captivate audiences and spark the imaginations of a new generation of creators. By the 1970s, video games were becoming more widespread, thanks in large part to the explosion of arcades and early home consoles like the Magnavox Odyssey. Early arcade hits like Pong and Space Invaders embraced the pixelated aesthetic not by choice, but out of necessity. Their developers used simple blocky visuals, essentially just a few squares or lines of pixels arranged to represent specific objects or characters. Yet, these games were monumental in shaping the future of video games. Players didn't mind the abstract shapes. They were fascinated by the new world of interactive entertainment these games offered. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, the home console market began to truly boom. Systems like the Atari 2600 and later the Nintendo Entertainment System became household staples, bringing video games out of the arcades and into the living rooms of many around the world. The hardware on these systems was still quite limited, but developers worked wonders within those constraints. With just a handful of pixels and a limited color palette, they created some of the most iconic characters in video game history. Consider Mario, the mustached plumber, or Pacman, the yellow cookie muncher. These characters were designed using just a few squares of color, yet their visual appeal was undeniable. They became symbols of the medium, and this era solidified pixel art as not just a technical necessity, but as a legitimate artistic style. The simplicity of these characters gave them a universal charm, making them immediately recognizable to gamers across the world. As technology advanced into the late 1980s and early 1990s, video games entered what is now known as the 16-bit era. This period saw the release of consoles like the Super Nintendo Entertainment System and the Sega Genesis. These systems dramatically expanded the visual capabilities of video games. The color palettes grew more vibrant, the character sprites became larger and more detailed, and the worlds became more complex and immersive. This was the golden age of pixel art as we know it. Games like Super Mario World, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Super Metroid pushed the limits of what pixel graphics could achieve. The characters were more expressive, the backgrounds were more intricate, and the animations were more fluid. This period showcased the artistic potential of pixel art, proving that it wasn't just a workaround for hardware limitations, but that it was a medium capable of producing stunning visuals. And in games like Chrono Trigger and The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, developers used pixel art to craft intricate, living worlds that invited players to explore. These environments were filled with detail and personality, making them feel alive in ways that transcended the technical simplicity of the pixel art medium. The 16-bit era was arguably the pinnacle of traditional pixel art, demonstrating how with enough creativity that developers could make small blocks of color feel like entire living worlds. By the mid-1990s, the video game industry underwent a revolution with the introduction of 3D graphics. The launch of the Sony PlayStation and the Nintendo 64 ushered in a new era of gaming, one where players could navigate full, three-dimensional environments. Games like Super Mario 64 and Final Fantasy VII embraced this new technology, and the industry rapidly shifted the focus towards creating realistic, polygonal graphics. During this era, many developers began to move away from 2D pixel art, and for a while, it seemed like the medium was on its way out. The push for realism dominated the gaming landscape. Graphics were becoming more sophisticated, and the shift to 3D became the standard for big-budget titles. For many, it felt like pixel art had been relegated to the past, a relic of gaming's humble beginnings. While pixel art was no longer the mainstream standard, it never truly died. It continued to be used by developers in niche projects and smaller games. But then, something unexpected happened. The indie game movement of the 2000s. This movement breathed new life into pixel art, and it began to re-emerge as a powerful creative force. With the rise of indie developers and the growing accessibility of development tools in the mid-2000s, smaller game studios and even solo creators began to bring their ideas to life. This was a pivotal moment for pixel art. It was able to find new life in the indie game scene, where creative limitations could be transformed into advantages. For indie developers, pixel art offered several key benefits: affordability, accessibility, and a clear artistic identity. Unlike 3D modeling or high-resolution artwork, pixel art didn't require expensive tools, cutting-edge hardware, or large teams to create it. Indie studios, often working with tight budgets and limited resources, could leverage pixel art as a cost-effective yet visually striking style. This allowed them to focus on other important aspects of game design, like gameplay mechanics, storytelling, and other innovations without being bogged down by the massive technical demands of modern 3D graphics. Games like Cave Story, Braid, and Super Meat Boy exemplified this new wave of pixel-based games. These titles weren't just retro throwbacks. They demonstrated that pixel art could still evoke emotion, tell deep stories, and offer innovative gameplay experiences. For many players, these games served as a nostalgic callback to the past, but they also introduced pixel art to a new generation of gamers who had never experienced the 8-bit or 16-bit eras firsthand. Fast forward to the 2010s and beyond, and pixel art has firmly re-established itself in the gaming world. Indie hits like Celeste, Stardew Valley, Terraria, and Undertale didn't just use pixel art as budget-friendly options, they used it to tell powerful stories and create visually cohesive experiences. These games proved that pixel art wasn't just a technical relic of gaming's past, but a medium capable of evoking aesthetic beauty and emotional depth in ways that photorealistic graphics often struggled to achieve. Enter Celeste, a platformer that masterfully blends challenging gameplay with a deeply emotional narrative. The game's pixel art is simple yet meticulously crafted, using small details like color changes and subtle animations to convey the protagonist's journey through themes of anxiety and self-acceptance. The pixelated visuals, while seemingly old-fashioned, create an intimate and personal atmosphere, making the game's emotional beats hit even harder. Celeste is a testament to how pixel art can be emotionally powerful in ways that more complex graphical styles might miss. Similarly, Stardew Valley brought pixel art into the realm of simulation games, showing that this style could thrive in more relaxed, long-term gaming experiences. The game's charming pixel graphics perfectly suit its tranquil, slice-of-life gameplay, allowing players to immerse themselves in a comforting, nostalgic world. The simplicity of the visuals doesn't detract from the depth of the experience. Instead, it enhances the feeling of wholesomeness and escape that the game offers. Stardew Valley's success highlights how pixel art can create worlds that feel inviting and timeless, where realism is less important than emotion and atmosphere. AAA studios have even begun to experiment with pixel graphics, like Octopath Traveler, which blends modern technology and retro aesthetics in a unique way. Octopath Traveler uses a visual style known as HD 2D, where pixel art characters and environments are rendered with high-definition lighting and textures, giving them a sense of depth and realism while maintaining their retro charm. This fusion of old and new demonstrates how pixel art can evolve and adapt, proving that it can still feel fresh and exciting even in the era of ultra-realistic graphics. By combining the best elements of traditional pixel art with modern graphical techniques, Octopath Traveler successfully appeals to both nostalgic gamers and those seeking innovative visual styles. Another key element driving pixel art's modern success is its ability to foster imagination. Unlike realistic graphics, which try to replicate the real world as closely as possible, pixel art leaves more to the player's imagination. The fewer visual details there are, the more room there is for interpretation, allowing players to project their own emotions and experiences onto the game. Pixel art's resurgence isn't just about technology or nostalgia. It's part of a cultural movement that celebrates authenticity, simplicity, and a return to the roots of gaming. In a time when AAA games are criticized for prioritizing graphics over substance, pixel art offers a refreshing alternative. It serves as a reminder that the heart of gaming lies in creativity, gameplay, and the emotional experiences that games can offer, rather than just stunning visuals. Moreover, the resurgence of pixel art speaks to a broader cultural phenomenon, in which retro aesthetics are enjoying a renewed popularity across various forms of media. From the revival of vinyl records to the resurgence of 80s and 90s fashion, there's a growing appreciation for retro culture. Pixel art fits perfectly within this trend, offering a way for creators and players alike to engage with the past while still creating something new and innovative. This cultural movement is also closely tied to the concept of gaming nostalgia. Many players who grew up with the 8-bit and 16-bit consoles of the 80s and 90s now have the financial means to support indie games that are reminiscent of those early gaming experiences. For these gamers, pixel art serves as a powerful connection to their childhood, evoking memories of simpler times while also allowing them to experience new stories and gameplay innovations. Pixel art, in this sense, acts as both a bridge to the past and a vehicle for new, creative expression. As the gaming industry continues to evolve, pixel art has proven that it is not just a temporary fad. It's a timeless and versatile art form. The resurgence of pixel graphics in both indie games and mainstream titles shows that its style is still capable of pushing creative boundaries. Unlike photorealistic graphics, which can quickly become dated as technology improves, pixel art remains iconic and endearing. Its simplicity is its strength, allowing it to transcend the limitations of its time and remain relevant across gaming generations. The rise of pixel art in the modern era also highlights an important shift in the way we think about visual aesthetics in gaming. As gamers and developers alike place more value on creativity, storytelling, and emotional engagement, pixel art continues to offer a unique platform for artistic expression. Its resurgence speaks to a broader trend in gaming, where innovation is not just about cutting-edge graphics, but about creating experiences that are meaningful, personal, and memorable. Pixel graphics remind us that it's not always about having the most advanced tech. It's about creating art that resonates. In a world of endless pixels, it turns out that sometimes the fewer you have, the greater the impact. Pixel graphics aren't just making a comeback, they're here to stay, offering players a perfect blend of nostalgia, artistry, and innovation. And with that, the legacy of pixel art continues to thrive, one pixel at a time. My name is Doodad. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day.